Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling my siblings I don't want to split the bill equally since they have kids and I don't? I have two older sisters, both over 30 years old, while I'm still in my 20s. The thing is, they suggested to invite my mom to lunch for Mother's Day and they were talking about splitting the expenses in 3 parts. Both of them have 2 kids each while I don't. Given past, bad, experiences where the kids were not contemplated in the bill but still would eat, I told them I did not like the idea of splitting in 3 since their kids should be taken into account. Mind you, the kids are not babies, one of them will soon turn 18. At the mention of that they did not like it and called me confrontational, and my mom even found out and took their side, as per usual. To give you some more context as to why it bothers me, a similar experience happened before during a trip where I had to pay a third out of all the expenses, my mom another and my sister another, husband and kids included. She thought my mom and I were oblivious about the whole thing, but my mom begged me to not say anything to not start a fight, but now I think I've held my silence for long. So, the question is, am I the a-hole for wanting the bill to be split differently considering I don't have kids and I'm only paying for my share and my mom's? Top comments. You are not the a-hole, but you need to stop dining and traveling with them. Take your mother to a special brunch or painting class or some other nice treat for Mother's Day. If she will not agree to go with you for a solo outing, that is her choice. It does not obligate you to join a group outing that doesn't work for you. Not the a-hole. Hell no. They want you to subsidize their grown children's meals. Screw that, you pay for what you eat. You ask for a separate check and pay your bill, and split the cost of your mom's meal. I am sick of parents always taking the side of the cheap but parasite sibling to keep the peace. And please, stop dining with your sisters. If you are forced to, again, ask for a separate check and don't let them guilt you into anything. The only a-holes here are your family. Not the a-hole. In the future, if you do go, ask for a separate check and then contribute some cash toward your mom's meal. When they complain, laugh and say, I do understand why you want me to pay for your kids' meals, but I'm sure you understand why I'm not going to do that. Next story. Am I the a-hole for forcing 3 of my kids to get a job and charging rent but not the other? I always told my kids that if they go to college, I'll take care of everything else. Told them that since they were little kids. Now I have 4 kids. 3 daughters and 1 son. The 3 oldest, the daughters, decided college wasn't for them. I understood, but I told them they can't just sit in my house. I made them get jobs and I charged them rent. $200 a month. They're all doing well, but they all still live in the house. My youngest is 18. That's the boy. He graduated 3 months ago but just got accepted into a college. I did not force him to get a job, as I said if they go to school I'll literally do everything else. He himself decided he wanted a job. He works at FedEx and makes about $300 a week. I don't charge him rent and I'm still gonna try to take care of him until he's done with college. My daughter are more than mad that he's not paying anything. They believe him having a job means he can pay something. They also believe I shouldn't take care of everything for him if he has a job and he's not paying rent. I'm not charging him rent because he's going to school. Him getting a job changes nothing in my mind. He simply saw this as a golden opportunity and is running with it. Am I the a-hole for forcing my daughter to get a job and charge rent while my son doesn't have to pay anything because he went to school? Top comments. Not the a-hole. My father told all 6 of us, if you go to university and stay, I'll pay and help you with expenses. If you're drop out and want to go back, it's on your dime. I am the youngest. My brother closest in age to me went to university and got our degrees because we watched the other 4 drop out. Your daughters are jealous. You were fair and offered all your children the same opportunity. Your daughters didn't take you up on the offer. Let them find a rent with everything included and board for $200 a month if living in your house is a burden. Not the a-hole. The deal was if they keep in school you'll pay, the same deal I have given my kids. If not, you get a job and pay rent. If you are still in school and make some money on the side, good for you. Your son is just making a better deal for himself because he is more productive. Your daughters should really take that lesson to heart in life. Rewards come when you put in the extra effort. If your daughters aren't going to college or trade school, having them pay rent is fair. It's still much less than what they would have to pay living on their own. Your son decided to get a job to have extra money while in school. Him having the extra income does not mean he should have to pay rent, as he is abiding by the terms of your agreement. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that she is ruining her child's life with an iPad? My sister, 36F, and her husband have a 10-year-old kid, who for the purposes of this post is called Jimothy, who me and my husband sometimes babysit on the weekends, and on some days I take him to school. As of about a year ago, we started to notice that Jimothy was beginning to develop an American accent. We are Australian. Small kids have phases, and so I didn't want to make it a thing. Over the next few months, the accent got thicker and Jimothy became more irritable. Me and my husband brought this up with my sister, who said that Jimothy wasn't very grumpy when with her. He then started losing interest in almost all activities that he used to enjoy. Again, this was a concern for me. Every weekend it got worse. He would complain of being bored, but when we offered an exhaustive list of all the things we could do with him, he said no to every single one. The school year for 2024 started, and on the weekend after that Jimothy told us that his teacher and a few classmates had asked him how long he'd been in the US before moving to Australia. At this point his American accent was indistinguishable from a general American accent. My husband and I were really wondering what was happening. Then, it was Jimothy's birthday party. His family was invited, including me, and so were all his friends. This was the moment that made me realize to some extent what was going on. He was on an iPad, scrolling some kind of short-form content that I did not recognize. His friends wanted to play with him, and he just did not notice they were there. People were giving him presents, and he acted like he was inconvenienced for having to turn the iPad off. Never before had any of my nieces or nephews reacted like this upon me giving them money and delicious treats. I told my sister that something was going on, and that Jimothy is obviously not in a good way. She seemed very offended that I was questioning her parenting choices, as she put it, and she decided that me and my husband babysitting Jimothy had to stop. The next time I saw Jimothy was very recently, at my niece's birthday party, different parents. Jimothy was completely glued to the iPad. He was noticeably skinnier, which I suspect was because he was forgetting to eat in favor of iPad time. And when anyone went over to talk to him, he would almost instinctively push the screen towards his body so nobody could see. I had to talk to my sister and her husband. I told them what I thought, that a year ago Jimothy was an energetic child who got along really well with everyone, and now he's reclusive and it's obvious from just looking at him that he's skipping meals. My sister denied any changes in Jimothy's behavior, but her husband did admit that I was right to some extent, and Jimothy's friends had stopped trying to hang out with him because he said no 100% of the time. I told my sister she was wrecking Jimothy's life by continuing to let this iPad stuff happen. She started shouting at me, and I walked out of the party. Top comments. Not the a-hole, the accent thing is normal, plenty of people complain about kids suddenly speaking with an English, Peppa Pig, or Aussie, Bluey, accent, but the weight loss and behavior change can be an indicator that something serious is going on. My niece spends too much time watching YouTube shorts, but isn't displaying signs of brain rot. This is not normal for iPad exposure. Given a choice between presents, friends, and YouTube shorts, she'll choose people and presents every time. She loves spending quality time with adults and kids, loves one-by-one attention, loves playing with her cousin. Makes messes like a normal kid. And she also watches YouTube shorts. She's doing fine in school, which is really remarkable considering she lost her mum this year. The iPad is not causing this. The iPad is escapism. Something else is going on. Maybe he's being abused, neglected, sexually abused. I don't know. But an iPad alone does not cause what you describe. The kid needs a doctor. No one here is qualified to opine on what's wrong with them. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband to stop asking our son for money, even though he regrets how we treated him in the past? Our son, 24M, has always had a complicated relationship with us, but he's very close to his aunts, my husband's younger sisters. When he was a teenager, he got into serious trouble for bullying another kid at school. My husband and I didn't know how to handle it, so we decided to punish him by not getting him anything for his 16th and 17th birthdays. We thought we were teaching him a lesson, but looking back, we realized it only drove him further away. After that, our son became more distant, and I still remember when he coldly told us we would regret how we treated him. We didn't take him seriously at the time, but now it's clear that his words weren't just a teenage outburst. Now, at 24, our son is financially successful but has cut us off entirely. When my husband had a medical emergency recently, we were struggling with the bills and reached out to him for help. He flatly refused, telling us to F off. This crushed my husband, who deeply regrets the way we handled things back then and wishes he could go back and make it right. Our son has a peculiar tendency to spoil all the women he considers family. He made amends with the girl he bullied in high school, and they're now good friends. He also lavishes attention and financial support on my husband's younger sisters, his aunts. They told us that he said he doesn't care who they help, even if it's us, but despite this, they're still hesitant to get involved. They've only helped us out a couple of times and are clearly reluctant to do more, likely because they don't want to jeopardize their close relationship with him. My husband is heartbroken. He's trying to reconnect with our son, but every time he reaches out for help or to mend things, he's met with anger or silence. I finally told my husband to stop asking our son for money. I feel like every time we ask, we push him further away, and I'm terrified that we'll never have a chance to repair our relationship if we keep this up. My husband is upset with me now, feeling like I'm giving up on our son. He's filled with regret and sadness over how things have turned out, but I just don't know what else to do. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole for telling your husband to stop, but overall you are the a-hole for leaving out the real reasons as to why he's gone no contact. Birthday presents for 2 years just don't add up. The math don't work here. Y'all did more and you don't want to admit it, acknowledge it, or take responsibility for whatever it was. On top of that, neither of you reached out to apologize and take responsibility, instead you asked for money. What the F? No, that's not how it works. You don't ask someone who cut contact with you for money. So yeah, you're not wrong for stopping the husband's BS, but both of you are a-holes for not being accountable for what you really did to your son. You're not the a-hole for telling your husband to stop asking your kid, who has deliberately cut you off, for money. You were both AHs for asking at all. If you want to repair the relationship, then you have to realize that reconciliation is never going to be on your terms, it's on your son's terms. And it also sounds like you've not yet extended a real and genuine olive branch for him to feel like you two have changed. You are the a-hole. Not for telling your husband to stop asking your son for money, but because this entire post is about you getting money to the point you're even whining a little bit that the family members he does help out financially aren't giving you more money. You don't regret whatever it is you did to your son to make him hate you this much, you regret that you don't have access to his cash. Also, you guys always had a complicated relationship with your son, but you attribute all your problems with him to the point he cut you both out of his life to not getting him anything for his birthday for 2 years. Whatever he was referring to about how you guys treated him was not about a lack of birthday presents. You are the a-hole. It doesn't sound like either of you actually have tried to make amends to your son. Where is the heartfelt apologies? Where is the acknowledgement of how you failed him? This just sounds like you and your husband feel entitled to your son's money and are sad about missing out on that. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she got what she had coming to her after grandma had her banned from the retirement community she lives at? My mom went behind my grandma's back several months ago and tracked down my grandma's half-sister to try and force a reconciliation between them despite knowing grandma did not want to and did not claim her half-sister as a real sibling. Grandma was furious. She told my mom that the half-sister is just some bad woman's child and not her real sibling, and her chance to have siblings died with her mom. After my great-grandma died, great-grandpa remarried someone who had a very extensive reputation for going after married and widowed men. My grandma thought the woman was disgusting. It wasn't helped by the fact great-grandpa's new wife was also the other woman to one of the parents of grandma's friends. So the hatred already existed. They went on to have a daughter together who grandma never looked at as anything other than the woman's daughter. She saw her dad as a traitor and disgusting for going after someone like his wife. So she never formed any connection with her and she moved out at like 16 in order to get out from under them. Great-grandpa's wife's reputation proved to be more than true because even while married to great-grandpa there were more and more married or widowed men who were going in and out of the house. At some point several years after grandma moved out, her half-sister reached out and asked if she would take her because she wasn't happy at home and grandma said no. That was the last time they spoke. My mom and her siblings grew up knowing grandma had a half-sister she wanted nothing to do with. But sometime during her life mom decided she could be the one to change grandma's mind and she waited until grandma was older and grandpa was gone and she's been living alone for 2 years now, in the retirement community, and she tracked down the half-sister, got that woman's hopes up because she always hoped to have a relationship with my grandma and then showed up at grandma's house with the half-sister. It didn't go well. The half-sister left heartbroken and my grandma tore my mom a new one. I have never seen my grandma actually angry before. She called my mom a bratty little know-it-all who thought she could ignore people's wishes and boundaries and she told mom that she couldn't look at her. Mom argued back that grandma has a sister and she should know her before it's too late. Grandma sent me to the store to grab some snacks and by the time I got back grandma told mom she was not welcome back there again. Mom thought grandma would calm down but she learned a couple of weeks later, when she tried to visit, that she was banned from the community. My mom was horrified. She wouldn't stop talking about it at home and I told her she got what was coming to her with what she did. I told her if I did something like that she would ground my butt so fast. But just because she's an adult she thought she could do it? Mom told me I shouldn't stick my nose into her business and that I have zero right to judge her. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom didn't respect her mother's wishes or boundaries. She traumatized both of those women. For what? Opie replies. I think my mom really believes she knows what's best here. Instead, she ended up making things worse and nobody thinking she's right. She thinks grandma's overreacting all the way through. Not the a-hole. You didn't overstep your boundaries by expressing your opinion. Your mom's actions were disrespectful to your grandma's wishes and boundaries, which had significant consequences. It's understandable for you to feel that her actions led to the outcome she experienced, and sharing your honest opinion is a reasonable response, especially given the situation's impact on your family. Opie replies. The consequences are still coming through too. Like mom's siblings are pissed at her. Grandma isn't answering her calls at all now. She thought her siblings would be on her side but they told her everyone knows to leave stuff like that alone. Next story. Am I the a-hole for leaving a family party early when my father's wife wouldn't leave me alone? I, 19M, became estranged from my father 2 years ago after he was outed for having an affair. The woman in question is someone he had worked with, who knew he was married, who had met my mom and me, and had seemed a little off at the time. We now know it was because she liked Dad and wanted me to like her. I was disgusted with my dad. He tried denying it, then he tried to convince Mom it was a one-night stand and nothing more and he'd forever regret it, then he wanted her to stay with him and raise the baby he knocked the other woman up with, since they only had me. Even when he moved in with the other woman he kept trying to stop Mom from going through with the divorce. He tried to get me to talk to Mom on his behalf. He told me Mom was the one breaking up our family and not him. Then when he gave up and accepted Mom wouldn't take him back, which is when the other woman lost the baby, he tried to get me on board with things. I ignored all calls and texts from him. I couldn't block him while still a minor. But I didn't reply and I didn't see my dad face to face during this. I knew I wanted him out of my life for good. He tried to make me see him but he failed. And once I turned 18 it was over for him. He ended up marrying the other woman and now they're expecting a kid together. I don't want anything to do with any of that, including the baby. And yes, even if I don't have to see them I have zero interest in knowing that child and any future children. I still see the extended family. Which is why I was at a party they also attended, but weren't technically invited to. During the party Dad's wife approached me and told me she wanted to talk. I said no and walked away. I walked away from her again. The third time she spoke before I could move and said she wants her baby to know their brother and she wants me to be a part of their family. She wants to know me and have me for dinner and maybe I could spend some time with them. She tried the whole, we're family now, crap and I left early because I did not want to deal with it. I thanked the hosts who were already annoyed that she and Dad were there. A couple of Dad's siblings want him around still and the others don't, but to keep the peace they let them stay. The two siblings of Dad who think we should all be easier on Dad and forgive him were so pissed at me for leaving early because then the rest of the family turned on Dad. They told me I could have spoken to the woman and not taken it out on her, since she didn't do anything to me. And leaving was an OTT reaction and not a mature one, which caused family disharmony. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. If she wants a family where everyone accepts her and her baby with open arms, she probably shouldn't have been a homewrecker. She thinks everything resets to neutral once she has the ring on her finger. Not the a-hole. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.